Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast. My name is Kem.
I'm Rue.
See, he's there, partner in crime. All right, in today's episode, it's going to be no different than any other, except for the last time I remember you guys liked it, how much we're outside. And today's going to be no different. It's a beautiful day today. The ducks are swimming, the kids are playing, and we're out here recording for you guys because we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of us. All right, in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about over-consuming pleasure. When I say pleasure, what does that make you think of? Something that makes you happy, right? Something that makes you feel good in the moment. And that's a good thing. We all have our vices. We all have our little guilty pleasures. We have those little things that we tend to do to make us feel good. You want to take a break from the everyday life. You want to take a break from the mundane. So you turn to your vices. You turn to playing video games. You might turn to venting to someone to make you feel a little bit better. And some of us have like stronger vices, stronger addictions, like drugs, sex, gambling. I won't say those things are good, but we all have our little things that make us feel better in the moment. The problem is they only make us feel better in the moment. They don't actually add a sense of fulfillment. They don't add a sense of gratification. They don't make you feel better about yourself, okay? They give you the illusion that you're feeling a little bit better about yourself. So in today's episode, we're gonna gain some insight, some awareness as to what some of those vices are, how they can be catastrophic for you if you continue to do them. What are some of the biological changes that it has on your body and your brain, okay? And some ways that we can help you to deal with that. So stay tuned. This is gonna be some pretty insightful tips and topics that we're gonna go over. I hope you enjoy it. Actually, I know you're gonna enjoy it, all right? Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, welcome back to In Your Prime. Now, for the first point about over-consuming pleasure, I want to talk about the chemical that's mostly, attributed to pleasure, the pleasure system, right? A lot of us think that dopamine is the chemical that gives us, that reward for pleasure. Whenever we go on a hike or something that we consider as pleasurable in our lives, our dopamine rises. But a more accurate description of dopamine is actually a motivation center, right? It causes you to want to do anything in life, right? To accomplish your goals, to work out in the morning, to work on that project you work on for a week. It's all pushed by the chemical dopamine, right? But when you overconsume pleasure, your dopamine chemicals spike to a point where it has to come down below your baseline. What happens when that happens is that you feel unmotivated, you feel depressed, it's like anxiety. That's because you're over-consuming pleasure, right? Being on your phone for hours to end, or eating too much food, or your kids around, but over-consuming pornography and sexual desires, all those things fall under the category of dopamine. Anything that gets you excited, anything that gets you to rust, it releases dopamine, right? When we overconsume that, right, baseline goes below where it should be, right? And that's where you have to correct that. And the way you do it is simple. Just stop doing your vices, right? Stop over-consuming the pleasurable things that you love, right? The best way to know if you're over-consuming is how you feel afterwards, right? If you accomplish your goal and you're feeling good, you're feeling excited, that's a good thing. If you feel depleted, depressed, like you don't want to do anything, that's a sign that your dopamine levels are low. And that can stop you from working out, your goals, anything you want to accomplish in life. Dopamine is the key. So for point number one, chemical imbalances caused by over-consuming pleasure.
All right, so point number two, we're gonna go even further down the rabbit hole, okay? So in point one, we talked about the little chemical imbalance that it creates in the brain. And you gotta realize, us as human beings, there's a reason why we do anything in life. And usually the primary reason is to escape pain and move towards pleasure, which is normal, it's natural. Where it becomes problematic is when we start to overconsume, right? So that's the topic today. When we start to overconsume, you gotta think, why are you overconsuming? What are you hiding from? What are you trying to mask? What feeling are we running away from? Are you running away from some type of emptiness? Most of us, we work a 9 to 5, we work Monday through Friday, sometimes even weekends, but we're not really comfortable with our lives. We're not comfortable going back home to our life situation where it's kind of mundane, it's kind of boring. We don't have that excitement, so we tend to fill that void with something else, and we tend to overfill it with something else, to the point where that void actually will never get filled, because it requires that overconsumption of something external, and we're trying to fill something internal, okay? Some of us might have childhood traumas that we haven't dealt with. Some of us might not feel comfortable with our spouse. Some of us might not have a good self-image. We look in the mirror, we don't feel too good about ourselves, Okay, so those little things, and I know they sound little, but they can amount to something really big at the end. So what do? How do we fix that? What is the solution to that? There's actually no one clear answer. Every person is different. Every situation is different. But here's some helpful tips. Sometimes it's just best to have that awareness. Have some awareness as to what you're trying to mask. Have some awareness as to what you're trying to avoid, what you're trying to escape. So that's one thing. Another thing is to get help from an external source, not with another vice, because if you try to replace another vice with another vice, you're just gonna get bigger vices, and they just create bigger mountains of vices, okay? So instead of just gaining some awareness of what your vice is, part of you can also replace that vice with a healthier vice. You've heard me talk about this. You've heard Rue talk about this before. There's this man that we look up to. Everyone knows about him pretty much, David Goggins, an incredible human being. But if you know his past, he lived in this state of depression day to day, and he was sick of it. So he started to change his beliefs about himself. He started to change his beliefs about not being this man with low self-esteem, but he's the baddest motherfucker that there is. And now he became a Navy SEAL and did all these ultra marathons. So the first thing that he did was he started to change his beliefs about himself, his beliefs about his potential, his beliefs about what he can do. So there wasn't just a physical shift, there was a mental shift that he took. He also started to work out. He started replacing eating donuts, eating pizza all the time with more time in the gym, more time on the bike, more time on the road, something like that. So I'm not saying that we all have to become these ultra marathon runners, because I'm not one. I do Spartan races, yes, but I don't run nearly as much as he does. But one thing, if I ever have a negative physical vice that I like to turn to, I like to show The Office, Thunder Mifflin. That's my jam. But if I'm over consuming in that pleasure, if I'm over consuming and just watching that show all the time, eventually it's gonna lead to something very negative. So what I would do instead, I would just replace that with maybe something healthier. Going out outdoors, just enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the time outside with friends, spending time doing something productive. You'll know the difference between something that's just kind of pleasure-filled versus something that's more fulfilling. You see the difference in the words, pleasure-filled and fulfilling? There's an internal feeling that you feel. There's an accomplishment that you start to feel about yourself. You start to feel better about your self-esteem. You start to build yourself up as an individual. You'll start to see your social circle change. Little things will start to you'll start to get healthier hits of dopamine, and they're more long-lasting too. They're not just something that will go away after you do it. You'll start to feel this way, not permanently, because I don't feel that any feeling is permanent. You'll start to feel this way more often, and you won't need to keep over-consuming in that thing. You'll have more of a consistent, disciplined mindset. Because Tony Robbins talks about it too. If you want to get someone out of that state of depression, you got to do something physical to get them out of that state, all right? Because feelings are produced by the thoughts that we have. Your feelings will also influence your actions. So in mental health therapy, there's a term called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And in that they teach your actions can also influence the way that you feel. So go out and do something different. Make that physical shift. Start to feel good about yourself, and you'll want to do that thing more consistently. Not to replace another vice with another vice. It's just to create more healthy lifestyle habits. I hope that helps.
Guys, I'm back here with the third point, right? The third point of over-consuming pleasure is hurting your loved ones, right? Me personally, I had to deal with this, right? I had a relative who was addicted to gambling, right? That led to her spending her rent money, robbing people, other family members of their own money, getting money from churches, even getting money from her sick, dying mother. That's how bad it became for my family, right? So me personally, I take this personal, right? Even my own life, where I struggled with, certain type of vices, where I had to get control of them, because I realized it was affecting those I hold dear, people I respected, people I loved and cared about. And it got to a point where I just thought to myself, is this the person I want to be? Is this the legacy I want to live? Being someone who's addicted, someone who's a drug addict, and people just look at me, laugh at me? No, that's what I wanted. I have some sense of pride in myself. And that's what starts. It starts with you wanting it. Want it so badly you'll change. But it has to start with somewhere. Use some sense of motivation. And for me, it was those I love. It was my loved ones, my family members, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, everyone is affected by decisions you make in your life. So if you want to become a better father, right, better mother, better brother, son, leader, pastor, whatever case it is, right, you have to control your vices. You have to control that pleasure, because in the end, it can destroy everything you hold dear.
So, kind of like what we were saying earlier, today's day and age, there's a lot of advantages to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have technology, we have social media, we have things that we can get things instantly. And
Yeah.
who doesn't want that? I love Amazon. I just bought a bunch of packages last week, and I got it instantly in almost like a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful for like that shipping, because that helps me out so much. But at the same time, I also think back to when we didn't have those things, when cars needed to be made, not necessarily by hand, because that would take way too long. But when things needed to be done by hand, manually, and you had to wait for things, you had to get a postcard from someone and stuff like that. Like, things were done, they had more quality to them, in my mind.
And I think not just more quality, but more appreciation, right? Because you take more time, more effort to craft something, put more effort to it, you appreciate it more. Versus I just get it from who knows where, from outside the country, from China somewhere, whatever. But if I have to go to the store, I have to spend my time doing research, picking out, that's a whole different vibe experience. You know what I mean? I miss going to Blockbuster back in days. I'm showing my age. I miss going back to
Pop video.
Blockbuster, experience time with my dad. Just we go on a Saturday night. It used to be our fun time. Saturday night, just going to the movie store, looking at movies, and just picking out titles. Right? Versus you can just stream everything. Point I'm trying to make is that overconsumption of things getting right away, you lose part of connection with people, right?
Yeah.
And I think connection is the thing that people really need today and age.
And you also lose like a sense of time. Like, you think you can just get everything quickly. You think you can get that beach body like in a matter of a week. You think you can get that job or get that girl.
You can with BBL and surgery now.
right. But what did it teach you at the end? Like,
nothing.
You didn't gain a lifestyle trait. You didn't gain any skills. And eventually you're gonna start to think you can always get things that easy. It never happens that way. Anything worth having does take time and effort. You know? Just a couple of old folks. We're just speaking man to man about these things. But at the same time, I kind of think that yes, we have a lot of advantages today. Yes, they're very convenient, but overconsumption can lead to that negativity. It can just lead to more and more vices down the road. And I don't think our brains are hardwired that way. I honestly think our brains are meant to be able to seek things out that take time. Because I don't want to get into the science of it. You guys can research Andrew Huberman, Jordan Peterson's, the Robert Greens of the world. They know way more about this stuff than we do. I just think, from what I've learned from them, the things that take time, like you said, there's more appreciation for it. There's more respect towards it. And it's just a lot more quality, a lot more effort that went into it.
The one thing I did want to throw in there, I know we talked about overconsuming pleasure, and one of the root causes of it is is a lack of connection, feeling lost. And that's what happens this day and age. Like, when everyone's on their phones, no one's really talking to each other. Even I'm guilty of that. We don't have that connection. It builds emptiness in you, right? And you fill it with garbage, you know what I mean? Like TV shows, like vices that we talk about. And we lose a sense of connection if we don't go to stores, see people, or the movie stores, or working hard, or even when you're playing outside with the kids. Look at these kids outside, they're playing, they're building connections, they're building memories, and this is a very good thing. They're not at home playing video games, stuck on their phone. And that's good. So, we talked about...
That's why quarantining...
it was bad.
The state of depression has risen from that. So.
And that's where I feel like overconsuming pleasure comes from. To this day and age, it's a lack of connection, right? Because when I was on this one podcast, he said one of the major signs of porn addiction is a sense of emptiness, not anything in your life you want to do. So that can lead to this stuff. So in this modern age, a lot of things are good. You know what I mean? But it's always a give and take. Like, you'll get advancements in technology, but you lose connection in the end.
Right.
And we have to find that to keep ourselves balanced as human beings.
Just a couple of old folks. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything that we said today that you can relate to, I can probably guarantee there's at least one thing, one story that you can relate to, and you probably have some story of yourself, something that you use as a vice to help you escape whatever you were masking, whatever did not make you to feel good, whatever didn't help you feel good.
Traumas.
Yes, right. There's so many different things. We as human beings, we are the optimal opportunists. We take whatever has created pain and we run from it. We try to hide from it because no one likes to feel pain, and then we run towards pleasure. What if we learn to flip that, right? What if we learn to flip the sense of pain? What if we actually look at pain as something that can help us? Something that was, I don't want to say every single pain is necessary because it's not, I don't believe that. But I do think a lot of the little things that we deal with, even the emptiness that we feel from being alone, what if that could just prompt us to go out there and meet people? What if that could prompt us to learn some social skills? And I know it is a little embarrassing and humbling to admit to yourself that I might not know how to talk to people. I don't know.
Have any friends.
Everyone starts somewhere. You got to start somewhere, okay? So if there's anything that you can relate to, please put it in the comments, because you might be surprised who else might be able to relate to what you're saying, okay? Your story might help another person, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. We're not saying we're philanthropists here. We're all just trying to give a little bit of ourselves, give our story. We want to hear yours as well. So if you have something you can relate to, please put it in the comments, all right?
And guys, you never know. Like, if we see some comments that we like, we might make even an episode about it. You know what I mean? So we want to get involved in the audience. We really do. We want to connect you guys. We appreciate the love, the support, and we want to give something back to you guys as well.
We love your feedback. So I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. It's something that we even want to talk more about. If we want to make a part 2, we might, because in 2024, this is starting to become more and more rampant, okay? So who knows what next year will look like.
Oh, yeah, it's getting crazier and crazier.
Right. And at the same time, crazier and crazier. We might find a way to use that to our advantage.
Yeah, make us stronger and stronger.
Yes, let's do it. So my name is Kem.
I'm Brew.
Today was another episode of In Your Prime. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.